The Business Advisory Council, we founded in January of 2016. And we're made up of, first and primarily, business leaders. We have no reason to be here if the businesses aren't here, because we really are here to serve you. In addition to the business leaders, we also have local support agencies that are here to help you through the process of being introduced to qualified applicants who have disabilities. And that's really important for us, is to understand that we're not here for you to hire people because they have disabilities. We're here as a way of introducing you to people that we believe have exceptional qualities and also happen to have disabilities. And so the agencies that we have represented today are Futures Explored and Alliance, NorCal Services for Deaf and Hard of Hearing, Progressive Employment Concepts. We also have some local and state workforce development agencies, Sacramento Employment Training Agency, and there's a sister agency, Crossroads, and the Department of Rehabilitation. On the policy level, we have the Center for Excellence Developmental Disabilities, which I represent, and also the State Council on Developmental Disabilities. I don't know where the Alta Regional Center fits within there, but they're a very important partner as well. And the partnership between the Business Advisory Council and local businesses is really that, again, we're here to help you solve your workforce needs. We're here to connect you with the local supported employment agencies that would be very hard for you to find on your own. And so our job is to help you to be aware that there is support out there and to help you to network with those agencies. They are here to serve you at no cost. They will introduce you to people who have been pre-screened, and they will then support the people through the process of learning the job and be long-term supports for you. And then the other thing, for large businesses particularly, is to discuss strategies to expand diversity programs. I want to now turn this over to Philip Lung from SMUD. Philip has been working with the Business Advisory Council from the very beginning. And actually, I think maybe even prior to that, because we had one of our job developers working with Philip for a very long time. The process that Philip has devised is one that is truly exceptional. And he's been able to hire a number of people into very interesting and sometimes complex work. And so I really want to turn this over to Philip so he can describe the process that he's used.
I don't want to disappoint you. I know the invitation went out, and it said that come and see SMUD's innovative disability program, and so I don't want you running out the door. I don't think it's really innovative, to be honest with you. Okay, this is nothing special that we came up with. In fact, I think every employer can do this. It's very easy. And in fact, earlier someone had said, especially a bigger company, it's difficult to work around your processes. But we actually kind of fumbled our way through this process, and we've created something that seems to work well with us. And I hope that you can take some of these same principles and apply it into your workplace. And like I said, it really is not that difficult to do, and I think you can start doing it right away. I wanted to start with our concerns. When I first started the BAC, I remember attending a meeting, and one of the questions that was asked, we were in our table groups, and they asked a question like, could you see yourself applying this in your workplace? And I felt bad because I couldn't. And when I spoke, I told them, I said, I really can't see us using it because we're a public entity. So we have a civil service process that we have to follow. I can't see how we can put people into full-time positions. It just wouldn't work. And then when I said that, a number of other agencies chimed in and they said the same thing. They said, I just can't see how this process would work. And so there was a number of concerns that I had. And so I kind of want to go over those things, but most importantly, each of these concerns over time has been addressed in some way or another. And it got to the point where it was a no-brainer. It was a very easy decision to start doing this because every single one of our current concerns were just kind of squashed. And so some of the things that I wanted to go over today, do we have a need? And we'll talk about that as a business. Do you even have a need for this? How do I work with someone with a disability? In talking to some of the leaders here, we were concerned, we were scared because we've never really worked with too many people with a disability. How about if I say something wrong? How about if I do something wrong? Then what? So I wanted to talk about that a little bit. Do I have the knowledge to do something like this? Of course, we're all very busy. Do I have the time to do it? And then, of course, the big money issue. I just don't have the budget. How can I bring on a new person? And then, how do we make this process work for your organization? We're going to summarize everything, kind of put it together. And so we'll go through each one of these concerns. Do I have a need? One of the first things that I had to address was what's the right thing to do versus the smart thing to do. And so let me explain. Our first hire was kind of difficult for us. We struggled with it. Kelly was with us she was with Progressive at that time, and she had said it took so long to get started here, and she was very patient with us. But it was difficult because we knew it was the right thing to do, and eventually that's why we brought our first hire to SMUD. Because we said, and that's one of the things I am so proud to work at SMUD because we want to give back to the community first and foremost. And you see us out there, and that's a core value of our organization. And so we made the decision, to be honest with you, to bring our first person on because we thought it was the right thing to do. But after our first hire, then our second hire, and then now we have 6 hires in our organization. I just got a repeat customer requesting our 7th person. So that's very exciting for us. But what we found is it's the smart thing to do. It's not just the right thing to do, it's also the smart thing to do because we get so much more from this program than I could ever have imagined. And shortly we're going to show you a video that we created, and you're going to see the employees, the impact on them. So is it the right thing to do? Most definitely. You're going to see from a business perspective how smart it is. And you're going to hear from the managers themselves to say how impactful each of these individuals have been in their work areas. And so we're going to see that video, and so I'm excited to see that shortly. Expert job developers, that's one of the things that we have taken advantage of, especially at the beginning. And that chart started to change my perspective on our need because when the job developer came in, they started asking questions, brainstorming, got me to thinking, instead of a full-time position, why don't we look at a segment of work? Now, I'm sure all of us in this room can think about your workplaces, and you can identify a department where they are busy. They're always busy, they have so much work, they're constantly putting things to a side because they just don't have time to address it. Those were the things I started targeting. And I would start meeting with leaders and say, hey, I have the perfect solution for you. And so they started listening, and it started opening the doors, and it really started opening my horizons. And when it comes to, do we have a need? There's tons of needs here at SMUD. To be honest, we're going to have 7 placements here. That's not enough, because there's so much that we have throughout our organization, and so much need that still is not being met. And so that's the one thing that really kind of changed our direction of how to go about doing this type of work. We started creating a win-win situation where we would bring in new employees so they would be so pleased because they're doing a new work, they're learning something, building up new skills. But what it was doing was it was allowing our full-time employees to free up their time so they can work on other projects. And so that started really resonating with our leaders. And it really started to spread throughout the organization. And then also another thing that I started learning was it's not just for entry-level work. And that was one of my mistakes in the very beginning was I was primarily looking for entry-level type office work. But you're going to hear from the video, we brought in someone who is doing technical work. And whenever I'm with him and his team, I have no idea what they're saying. I pretend really well, but now they know my secret. They're in this room. And so I don't know what they're saying because they're very, very technical. Also, we have individuals which we've brought in who have college degrees. So don't limit. Don't limit when you're thinking about the need of your organization. Don't limit it to just a simple task, because there's so much that this program can do for you. How do I work with someone with a disability? I'm going to summarize this up in 2 words: support agencies. They are so wonderful. We could not do this. I'm not just saying this. We could not do it without the support agencies. And so we were concerned. We've never really worked with too many people with disabilities before, and so we didn't quite know how to go about doing it. The support agencies are there for you from everything, from the beginning of employment to the end of the project, and everything in between. And I'll give you some examples. It's not only just the employment things. These are individuals now I go to for any of my questions. Steve and we've teamed up to do this video, and I go to Steve so often to confide in him, to ask him how do we build our program. Carol Watillo from Progressive, we've met hours and hours, and how do we create this program? How do we make it better? We have Kelly Willie there, who has been my mentor from day one. You know, I go to her for everything. I go to her, she's helped me develop a disability brochure that you see in your packets. And so they look way beyond even just the employment. They care about us. They care about us as an organization. They want us to succeed. And that's why I said in the beginning, it's not just the right thing to do, it's also a smart thing to do. They want us to succeed. And so they invest so much time and so much of their energy to make us successful. And they're a big part of why we do so well in this area. And so how do I work with someone with a disability? I am not an expert in this field, and I don't feel I have to, because I have so many experts that I can go to. And I have a wealth of people that I go to. NorCal as well. NorCal, Cheryl Bella from NorCal, she's helped us look at our webpage. And she said, hey, you know, you're kind of missing some opportunities here with the deaf and hard of hearing. You need to word it differently. And so these are things we never would have known, but they look way beyond our employment matters. But anything with bringing on a new employee, they do a wonderful job. And they don't pay me to say that too, by the way. So, do I have the knowledge? Kind of the same line of with the job agencies. The job coaches have been wonderful to work with. And so probably every single hire, except for one that I can think of, we have the job coach. And the job coach will come in and will make sure that the employee is completely trained. And what's neat about it is they'll be stay with the employee until they're fully confident and competent, and will not leave until they feel that they can work independently. And so their main goal is to work themselves out of a job. And so usually within about 2 weeks, that's completed. What's really neat about it is they'll come back. So you have extra responsibilities that you want to give to the employee, they'll come right back and do it again. And this is something I haven't told them. I think they not only train the new employee, but they've also trained us as the employer, because I'll embarrass some people. Jackie over here and her manager, Lori, they wanted to give Jackie a little bit more extra work because she was doing such a fabulous job. And so what they did was, so I reached out to me and I said, yeah, sounds great. Do you need your job coach to come back? And Lori said, no, we feel very comfortable with Jackie. We know how to work together, and we know exactly what to do. And so the job coach trained not only Jackie, but they also trained Lori on the process and gave us the confidence to be able to work together. And that's happened throughout all of the other placements as well. And then one of the other special things that we have that we utilize is disability awareness training. And so before any new employee starts, one of the representatives comes out and really makes the team feel comfortable before the new employee begins employment. And I've seen it a complete turnaround. Before the meeting, where people were very tentative, kind of a little scared going into it, but afterwards being able to ask their dumb questions in a very safe environment, and it works. and it really works. And I know there's a number of managers in here that have gone through that, and it works for us. And that's something that really does kind of spread the knowledge and helps us prepare our work teams. Now, I know we don't have the time to bring someone on board. A new employee, let alone someone with a disability, how are we going to spend the time to do that? You're going to hear it in the video. You're going to hear this word that comes up quite often. It's very seamless. It was very easy. It was a lot easier than I thought it would be. The job coach, and you know, I mentioned that. It makes it a lot easier for the employer, so the burden doesn't all fall under the manager to do the training. And so really the transition from a new employee starting, from onboarding to training time to making sure that they're completely independent and working independently takes a little effort from us, but because of the relationship with the job agencies. So there really is minimal training time there. Nothing more than any new employee starting, but probably even less, to be honest with you, because of the job coach. And then one of the key things, and Steve wanted me to focus on this, one of the key ways that we have found through our big process at SMUD and through the civil service process is casual hiring. And so many of you probably have temp services budgets, casual hiring budgets. We have found that that's the way to bring people in. If I look at trying to fill FTEs, full-time equivalent jobs, it is more difficult for us. Now, that is our goal. Eventually, every single placement, if they want to work full-time, we want them to work full-time here at SMUD, and we want to find that ability to do that. But to get them in the door so they can be competitive, so they can know our process, that they can build up their skills, is through our casual hiring process. We have found that's a lot faster way of doing things. We have usually bring in someone within 2 to 3 weeks. I had one leader who said, can I have the person in 1 week? And so I worked with HR, and they were awesome, and we were cranked that out, did the background checks, did everything within 1 week. And so doing it that way really we don't have to spend a lot of time. And also, I kind of missed the first point about the pre-screening of applicants. The more I work with each of the agencies, I don't even really have to say much, because they know what I'm looking for. They know SMUD's culture. They will bring me the best candidate, and most of our hires are, I don't want to tell our hiring managers didn't even interview the individuals. I interviewed them, I showed them the resume, and they trusted the system, and it worked. And so it really is a little time, a little investment time to be able to make this process work. And then the big money issue. Steve mentioned what's neat about this whole thing. All these services that I've talked about is free. There is no cost at all to the employers. And in addition to that, we have a paid internship program that we use through the Department of Developmental Services. And you probably, a lot of you are aware of this. You're eligible for $10,400 per employee. It's free money. And so that was a huge factor in the selling point to the hiring managers. So I would tell them about the program. I would address all their concerns, and we get to the money part. I said, well, I don't have the budget for it. I even have that for you. So it got to a point where every leader, I have never had, and I'll be honest here, I have never had a leader turn me away and say, no, this just will not work for me. Because I was able to address every single one of their concerns, these concerns with them. But the selling point, it came down to the cost. And what this does, it gives us about a handful of months where the leader can try it out. The leader can then see the person every single day, and then they will have enough time. If they want to continue with the person, they can find their own budget. And every single one of our hires, they have finished the reimbursement program, we have continued them because of how valuable they are and how important they are to each of the departments. And that's how useful this program is. And so by using that, it just gives the leader a chance to feel a little bit more comfortable with the process. And it seems to work. So how do I make this all work for your own individual companies? And this is what we do. Now, you don't have to do it this way. You can take pieces of it. But the one thing I do encourage you to do is to try it. I will never mislead you. And people know I will never stand in front of a room like this and say these things, but I really didn't believe it. I believe in it 100%. And just try it. What's the worst that can happen? You have a bad hire. I'm sorry? You can come find me, and I will take you to lunch. And we will talk about it. And you know, I've told the agencies, we will have a bad hire at some point. Don't we all have had a bad hire? But don't blame it on disability hiring. That's not the reason. There just may be a bad hire. That's okay. Now, I haven't experienced it yet, but eventually we will, and that's all right. But the worst thing can happen, you have a bad hire. So, okay. So what's great about the casual hiring process, you can either get a new person, or you can say, well, it just wasn't for me. Nothing lost. And so, but what I do is one of the first things is I connect with a leader. So I know I've been at SMUD for 14 years now, and so I kind of know the areas which need some help. And so I start reaching out to those leaders. I start really understanding their business, what their needs are. And then I'll start explaining the process to them. And it takes a little while, to be honest with you. It's not, I've never had someone's like overnight, okay, let's do it tomorrow. I've never had that. It usually takes a couple months of an ongoing discussions, answering their questions. It's not an easy thing to come to, and I get that. But eventually what happens is that everything will be answered for them, just like this wheel of concerns here. Everything will be answered for them, and then it's kind of neat to see. They'll all of a sudden will say, one day, call me up and say, let's do it. I'm ready. And that's when they say, can I have someone next week? I go, okay, we've been talking for a couple months, but yeah, sure, we can have someone next week. But that's what I do. So then we focus on a segment of work. So instead of looking at, hey, do you have an FTE in your budget, which is a very difficult conversation to have with the leader, it's much easier to say, okay, you have a segment of your work. You've been telling me, for instance, our latest hire, Kevin, has been put into our mailroom area. And Val's here from our manager of our mailroom. And so we would say, okay, she had a need for the morning time to sort mail. And then she also said, you know, my assistant manager also has bombarded with this data that she has to put into Excel. Can the person do that? I said, most definitely. So then I'll start reaching out to the agencies and say, hey, I need someone who likes the mailroom. Also, I need someone with good, strong computer skills. And so Kevin, when I interviewed him, he's such a special young man. I love him. I said, hey, are you good with Excel? And he goes, Excel? That's my hobby. And so, who has that as a hobby, right? And so, perfect match. Perfect match. And so, again, the job agency knows exactly our work environment, knows our culture, knows what we need to look for. And so I share those needs with them. They find me the best candidate. And then we use our casual hiring process, as I've mentioned, and the reimbursement program, and they can do so many different things. We've done things like a two-week trial basis, where they'll pay for it. The agencies will pay for it, and they'll say, it's not on your dime. Hey, why don't you just try it out for 2 weeks? Most recently for the mailroom, we did a morning interview process. It was kind of a working interview, and so the teams were able to then see what Kevin was capable of doing. Was this going to be a good match? And also goes both ways. You know, does Kevin was working at another employer. Would he like to come here? So it's not just us. It goes both ways. We want to make sure both parties are comfortable. So there's a lot of different flexibility that the agencies can do for the employers. And then one of the things that I've done was identify champions for each of our placements. And so a lot of the champions are in this room. A lot of the mentors are in this room. And I want to say thank you, because they're the ones, I don't see them from day to day. They're the ones to really take them under the wing, to make sure that all their concerns are handled, they're taken care of, and they're very important in the process. And then lastly, establishing a minimal budget. And you don't have to even do this. To be honest with you, we haven't even utilized it yet. It was just created, so we do have a small budget, but what I'm going to use the budget for is to bridge people. There's been a few times in which a project ended, and so I needed to I found another project for them, but there was some transition time. So that just helps with a little transitional from one department to the next. And so if you can get a small budget, that's great. If you can't, that's all right as well. And so we've done this without a budget up to this point. And then the real reason why we're so successful is our employees. And so these are our employees, and we have a video that we want to share with you. And so we have Kaylee Santiago there, the top left. The top right, we have Brian Koyosako. We have Jackie Armstrong on the bottom right. And we have Josh Beckett in the bottom left there. And then since doing this video, we have 2 more placements. We have Jessica Beckett. It sounds the same last name as Joshua because they're brother and sister. So she's here as well. So we also have Kevin Mack in our mailroom. And so we have 6 placements so far. And so we wanted to share this video with you. We teamed up with the BAC. I know Steve's going to be using it. I think they're going to put it on the webpage and embarrass us somehow that way. But this is something that we've been wanting to do at SMUD, and so to be able to team up with the BAC was even more special. At SMUD, diversity and inclusion is very important to us. In fact, it's one of our core values. So diversity and inclusion is something that we look to do every single day, and so we want to bring in the best and make sure we have an environment that they can be their best.
Philip Leung from HR and our inclusion department brought over the idea to us about bringing in Kaylee to help out with our training needs at SMUD. So kind of help support our trainers and the programs that we ran. She came in and just really synced in with everybody, and we were just given a little bit of training beforehand of just what the program was and how to incorporate Kaylee into our work group, and she has come in seamlessly, and we would be lost without her, I think.
As an office specialist, I am responsible for the tasks such as organizing files, whether they be paper or digital, and also help set up the classes as well as clean up when they're done. Setting up the make the coffee, get the snacks, get the name tents ready, and all the other materials needed before the class gets started. What I like about working at SMUD is the whole environment is really, really nice. I am so fortunate to be able to work with coworkers in my work area. They're super nice and super friendly and super helpful. And I'm very thankful to be in that group.
Just because somebody has a disability doesn't mean they can't work, doesn't mean that they don't bring anything to the table. And Kaylee brings so much positivity and so much of herself to her work that she's just an asset, and you gotta give them a chance.
So Philip Luong contacted me from our inclusion office to see if there was any work that we had potentially that would work for Brian. He had talked about the work that they were currently doing in HR with some scanning and all that, and if we had anything similar. He'd heard that we had some scanning work. So we did. We had a lot of scanning work that was taking a lot of our time, and I said, absolutely, I have some work that potentially I can at least do for a few months, if not longer, and we'll see if it works out. Within days, he was up and running and doing a fabulous job. My team was worried about the quality of the work because it's very important that we scan and we attach to the right accounts and that in our system. They, within a couple of times of checking his work, said, I don't know why we even bothered. It was absolutely perfect. We've never had such perfect work. I wish I'd have known about this a long time ago. This is an amazing opportunity for both of us.
Well, I hope Kim will have me work on more projects as soon as I'm done with those folders.
So when we started with Brian, Amanda came in and worked right alongside with us to see the training and that, to show him what to do. Then Amanda sits with him and makes sure and kind of checks in to make sure that he's following the process. And as soon as she's comfortable that he's good and we're comfortable, then leaves him on his own. But then she will come in and check on him and connect with him. And then of course, if Brian has any questions that he's not comfortable with asking us or is not sure, he'll reach out to Amanda and then she'll connect with us. But it's been pretty darn simple, if you ask me. There's not been a whole lot, and Amanda shows up like clockwork to check on him, and so we know he's in good hands. Plus, I've also assigned one of my team to him as well, so that he's comfortable with a member of my team to ask questions with.
What I like about SMUD is that I like to do all the printing copy files like that on the copy machine. I like emailing on the Microsoft Outlook, and then I like to email and then reply messages.
Brian's filled a niche for us that was needed, and I feel like it's a win-win. It's giving him an opportunity to be out in the workplace and do things, out in the workplace, and I'm assuming feel valued, and we're definitely getting the benefit as well with the work that he's doing and the quality of work that he does.
The first introduction to Jackie I had was on paper. She had sent a bio about who she was, what her disability was, and the best way to work with her. And so she came into our office and she sat down at the desk, and she had a job coach with her. And we kind of just started giving her information. We did introductions, and it was a fairly smooth introduction. It was kind of the soft introduction on paper first, and then she came in with her coach, and it just seemed like a very easy fit.
I scan for power generation, and I scan papers into electronic documents into EDM, as well as doing quality assurance to make sure that things that are scanned, have been scanned before me, look all right.
At first we were having people quality check her work. She does a fabulous job, so that hasn't happened in a while. Now she's checking our work. We're having her do quality check on some documents that have been scanned in the past. My team, they want to work with Jackie, and they realize the value she adds, because there's a lot of that documentation that we need to get into electronic format. So, learning to work with Jackie in a way that she will follow instruction, they're on board, and it's not difficult. It's like, write out a procedure, tell us what needs to be done, and she'll do it.
SMUD has been life-changing, absolutely life-changing. Everybody, friends, family, support staff at my apartment have noticed a huge growth within me in terms of how I see myself, how I view the world around me. I've become a lot more positive in how I see the world around me. And I just light up when I talk about what I do, and I can't wait for people to ask me, oh, what do you do for work? Oh, I work at SMUD. I love saying that. And I just love the coworkers I have. I feel like they're like a second family almost, because they've all just collectively taken me under their wing, and then eventually I just started looking forward to coming to work, which didn't happen in the past, where I would just wake up and be like, I'm going to work today.
So if you start looking at your business, and you start looking at your practices, and you start looking at those tasks that they need to be done but nobody can get to them, there's an opportunity there for somebody to step in and give it a shot. I mean, Jackie came in and we were cautious at first. We were having the job coach work with her. We were, checking her work, and she just blossomed.
I think that my presence breaks the mold of maybe preconceived stereotypes that maybe people have had about people that have disabilities. So I kind of take that, and they see me, the person, instead of all the things that I might or might not have been diagnosed with as a child. They see me, Jackie the scanner.
When I learned that there was a technical whiz kid working here in the web group who needed a placement, we were really excited, because in information security we have a pretty significant job skills shortage, and it's something that people who work outside of IT don't really realize. So we're constantly looking for quality people that can come and work for us, but that really understand the technology. When we found out that Josh was interested in working in information security, it was really an important thing for us. So we were happy to bring him onto our team. He's done a great job. He's really gotten up to speed with all the different security tools that we use in our group, and it's definitely been a beneficial relationship for both of us.
I'm working with a team that we monitor network traffic, and we work on phishing emails and analyzing them to determine if they're legitimate or not.
He is a pretty quick learner, and dedicated to this job. He really likes it, and I can tell that just because every time I see him, I want to do this. I like it. Regardless of who you are, when you first come in, we will have to validate your work. He is treated no different. As time goes through, he has more and more responsibility put onto him, and he is able to satisfy them without being checked.
SMUD is a very great place to work. It's a lot of friendly people, understanding people.
It's really been a seamless transition for us. You know, there's not, I think a lot of people might think that there's like a lot of overhead when you hire someone this way, but that hasn't been my experience at all. We, you know, use our same timesheets, and like logistically, there's not a lot of additional overhead or anything like that. So I was a little bit skeptical at first, I'll be honest, you know, because I've never gone through this process, but now that I've been through it, I really don't have any qualms about it, and I would highly recommend it to other you know, supervisors of SMUD and at other employers in Sacramento.
I really do like the information security field, and since I started, I've done a lot, and I've been growing, learning a lot as I go.
Watch the video, you know, I do get emotional because we get to see the impact we're having on lives. We get to see the difference that we're making. If it was just that, I would do this program. You know, going back to the beginning, if it was just the right thing to do, I would just do this program. And that in itself, I think, is worth it. But then you see all the benefits. You see what we get as an employer. We have to run a business. You know, you get to see all the things that we get back in return from our employees. I encourage you, use it. You know, I'll be honest with you. After these meetings, a lot of times the agencies would tell me, yeah, the employers just aren't willing to try it. Just try it. Just try it one time. I would love to go to lunch with you. I would love to talk about it. If you want to talk to me more about this, I'd love to do that. But I stand by this process. It works. And so just try it. Okay.
I represent the employment agency that is supporting folks, just one of the agencies that are involved in the BAC. And our role really is to come alongside the business, to partner, and I can't stress that enough, that it is a partnership. We are not looking to, and no organization that you work with as a business should be looking to make a placement, to put somebody in a job that doesn't match for you, the employer. So it's really a partnership between the employer and the provider organization and the individual job seeker. And we're really looking to make a good match. We understand businesses are in business to make money, right? Businesses are in business to provide a service to their customer base. So we don't want charity. That is not what we're looking for as organizations. We want to provide a business solution. If you're working with any organization that is not looking to provide you with a business solution, then find a different organization to work with, because that's really what we're here for. Our job is to really get to know the folks that that are looking for employment, get to know them well, so that we can make those good matches, so that we can come alongside of an employer and say, hey, we have an individual who's looking for these types of work. What is it that you're looking for? And really listening to the employer and what their needs are, and helping to identify when they're not sure what their needs are. We know that this department has a lot of casual employees that they hire. But we're not really sure how those could be structured in a way that would meet an employee that you're working with needs. We can come alongside that employer, that department, and really do some analysis of the department from really a lean process analysis of the business and help them identify, well, it looks like if you pulled these things and took these things, that would be a time saver for your other 3 employees. This would be a part-time position, and really looking at those types of solutions. And that's been really successful. What else do I want to say? Progressive Employment's mission is to provide opportunities for people that promote dignity, respect, and inclusion, and really so that all of our lives and communities are enriched, and that includes our employers. So that's a very important part of our organization's mission and what we do. I really won't go into all of the details of what we do behind the scenes because, like Philip mentioned, there are lots of things that we do behind the scenes, working with our regional center, the funding streams that help fund the job coaches, that help fund the internship programs, all of those kinds of things. But those aren't things that you guys need to worry about, right? We make it as simple as possible for you to onboard folks, helping through the interview process, helping through the onboarding process, and supporting folks as much or as little as needed. Individuals that SMUD has hired, some folks, we were there maybe one day with individuals. Other folks, we've been with them all day through their day for weeks, a month. We've come back and been involved more. So it really just depends on the individual. It depends on the complexity of the job. It depends on the needs of the department or the employer. And we really want to make sure that both the employee and the employer feel comfortable before that support fades, and that they know that we're always available. Questions for me? You had, so the reimbursement process, well, you had asked about the reimbursement process. So basically, the employee becomes your employee, even when they're under the reimbursement program. And like Philip said, there's a invoice that you send to the organization so that we know, and the employee's timesheet, so that we know you paid them this much. It also includes your employer cost, you know, your workers' comp cost, your all of those kinds of things, and then we turn around and reimburse you. It also includes a progress report because we want to see that the intern is really working on skills that are going to help them be employable. We want you to see them as somebody that you could employ, and that if you aren't able to find the budget, that you still see this employee as employable, and maybe you're willing to go to another employer and say, you know, that Bob over here was awesome, we just don't have the budget, but you know, let me write him a letter of recommendation so that he can get a job in another business doing similar types of work.
So you guys would be okay up front saying, hey, we just want someone short term, but we're willing to take them on, get their feet wet, get some experience. You're good with that?
So there are, yes, the internship does not require that you have the intent to hire somebody long term. That would be the goal. And like Philip said, they haven't had one person that they didn't want to continue with. Melaine is here from Franklin Templeton. They've had the same the same experience. So, and I'm sure there's other employers here that have had the same experience where, and they went in cautious.
Yeah.
We're not sure if we have the budget, we're not sure, people have proven themselves to add value to the organization in multiple ways.